It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. And our conversation with Grant Golliher is brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. And it is a fascinating book. It is called Think Like a Horse, Lessons in Life, Leadership, and Empathy from an Unconventional Cowboy. And Grant is that cowboy. We hear this term horse whisperer, of course, very famous in the Robert Redford movie, but it is an actual thing. And Grant is one of those whose communications and abilities in training horses translate very, very nicely to working with human beings as well. Grant, good morning to you.
Hey, Todd. Thank you for having me.
Let me ask you, where are you right now?
I'm right on our ranch here at the Diamond Cross Ranch, and we're a little town north of Jackson Hole called Moran. We have a full view of the Tetons, which are covered with snow this morning.
Oh, my goodness gracious. My goodness gracious. That's a gorgeous setting. I can imagine what you are seeing on an everyday basis. It's just amazing. Hey, I love the book, and it is so instructive for us, and not just in communicating with horses, but in communicating with people, in understanding both horses and people. There really are wonderful translations from one to the other, aren't there?
Oh, we sure believe there are. Yes, sir.
Yeah. One of the things that comes out very early in the book and really sticks with me throughout it, there are two words that I think work with and against each other if you allow them to. One is fear. The other is trust. Those are essential keys to the whole concept, are they not?
Oh, absolutely they are. Every horse has to overcome his fear because he's a prey animal, and basically that's how he survived, is being afraid of predators. And we're like a predator to a horse, so he has to learn that there's nothing to be afraid of, hopefully, and to begin to trust us as a leader.
And that is what you explain to us and show to us in a practical way in your book. As you were thinking about putting this all together into this wonderful volume, and those lessons began to come back to you and I'm sure sharpen themselves for the presentation, were there things about putting this book together that surprised even you?
Oh, I think it does. As you learn and grow over the years and through life experiences, and then you start to write them down and see them yourself, I think it does solidify some of the things. And of course, we're constantly learning as we teach. Every teacher, I think that's worth his salt, learns as he's teaching, because basically, we really ought to be teaching ourselves.
There are some great metaphorical applications here, especially when you consider translating what you do with horses into communicating and getting along with human beings. One of those is the idea of a pen in which a horse is located, and you entering into that pen, into its space, and making sure that there are no corners to avoid cornering somebody, or in this case, a horse. Tell me about that whole concept.
Well, it's really about it's about a lot of things, but you have to create a safe place for the horse to learn. And I liken this like to a classroom of children. Horses are a lot like children. You want a safe place for them to learn, a place where they're not going to get hurt. And of course, the corral, it needs to be a good, solid, made of a material that they're not going to get hurt on. The footing needs to be good, so they have plenty of room to move around. And we like a round corral because there's no corners where the horse feels trapped. We want him to feel that he has the freedom to move, freedom to make mistakes, and that he can be more secure, and that there's nothing really that's threatening him.
And the patience in dealing with that horse is part of that relationship that is developed with the horse. And there's a lot that is placed on the horse in terms of its responsibility, if you will, in dealing with human beings. and in human beings presenting themselves to that horse in order to foster that relationship. That whole trust thing goes two ways.
It really does, and it's so much about body language, whether the horse is trusting you or not, how you come across to him. And so he's reading us really well, and they read us like a book. They're so observant that they really teach us to be better, or they're really not going to respond to us. So they're reading our body language, and they're just very intelligent that way. So they require us to get better.
And in that, then we can pick up valuable lessons in dealing with other humans in our lives. And that's where the book makes a leap that is just so not only instructive to us, but inspiring to us as well. Learning to communicate with horses the way that you do, and their direct application to learning to communicate with other human beings and to help to ease their doubts, their fears, their struggles. That's a large part of what your book is about.
It is. It's really about the freedom to fail, the freedom to explore, to take risks, and that's what we want the horse to know, that I will never trap him. I always give him an escape route. If he's afraid and can't handle what I'm asking him to do, he can just move his feet. And, it really, we feel, fits parenting. My wife and I raised our kids this way, and we told them, don't be afraid to move your feet. And it's really helped them, of course, as they've grown up. They've really understood this, and often they feed it right back to us. I'm just moving my feet, and because give them the freedom to fail and not criticize them, and that's how they learn. Failing is part of learning, and it's the same with the horse, but it sure fits the human, particularly kids, I think.
Oh yeah. Grant Golliher is our guest. The book is Think Like a Horse: Lessons in Life, Leadership, and Empathy from an Unconventional Cowboy. Grant, these lessons that you're able to teach us in this book and to teach others in your life are not lessons that came naturally to you. You had to learn them yourself as a younger man.
I did. I had to learn to face my fears. I grew up with some dysfunction, like a lot of us do in our families. My mother had a breakdown when she was young. I was sent off to live with relatives and came back, and I grew up with some fears. So whenever things got tough, I would tend to run away like the horse. And through some counseling, I was able to overcome that. And but it was getting in my way, like a lot of things do in people's lives. No different than the horse. They're just learning what they've lived, but the good thing is, is that if we can learn to face our fears and not run from them, then we can overcome them, and that's what I think the horse is really trying to demonstrate to us. So much of that is facing our fears. Fear is just false evidence appearing real, which is an acronym that I use. And trust, on the other hand, is the opposite of fear, or you might call it faith is the opposite. But, trust, I have a little acronym. It's trust is you're terrified, and the R is you're resistant. The U is once you get understanding that you're going to be okay. The S is you'll be willingly submit, and then finally the last T is trust. So I think it's a pretty good sermon.
Absolutely. 25 years ago, if somebody said to Grant Golliher, what you do with horses is remarkable. You ought to be able to do something like that with human beings. It just doesn't look like that's ever going to happen. Would you have said, oh, yes, it is. It is possible for humans to learn these lessons, and in fact, that people would be coming to your ranch with that in mind, leadership principles and relationship things that we know are not just techniques, but they're more ways of life, and they're adjustments that we all can make. I don't know if 25 years ago, from what I read of your book, that everybody would have said that, or that you would have said that.
Oh, absolutely, I would. And this journey's been amazing for us. I never would have believed that I'd be doing this, but we've just seen how people that are around this get so much out of it. They become better people, and the arrogant, cocky become more humble. The weak and fearful become stronger, and they seem to find that balance just because they see themselves in the horse. And so that's really where I think Like a Horse came from. It's not really about horse training. It is, but mostly it's about life and what we can learn from it. This philosophy, and I call it a philosophy, not a method. Mm-hmm. I certainly didn't come up with it.
It's on Penguin Random House imprint. It is called Think Like a Horse, Lessons in Life, Leadership, and Empathy from an Unconventional Cowboy. Grant Golliher has been our guest. Grant, where are people going to learn more?
Well, it's going to be in every bookstore, major bookstore around the country. I'm very excited about, and also on Amazon.com. So pick you up this copy, and I promise you'll get a gold nugget out of this book.
You absolutely will. Hey, thank you so much for spending some time with us here today. Now get on a horse, would you, and go have some fun.
Hey, thanks, Todd. Come see us.
Hey, I'd love to do that. Have a great day today.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.